Have you ever come across the term 3 days of darkness? It was one of the prophecies made by Saint Padre Pio during his lifetime. While some of these predictions have been officially recorded, others have been passed down through word of mouth. However, none of this could have prepared us for one of his most ominous prophecies, the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. This particular insight is so terrifying that it begs the question, what is it? How did Padre Pio become a vessel of spiritual revelations and supernatural elements? How was he connected to Jesus Christ? What could possibly be the essence of the 3 days of darkness prophecy? What makes the foretelling of this prophecy such a disconcerting disclosure? Let us embark on a journey to explore this unsettling prophecy made by Padre Pio, a revelation that has sent shockwaves throughout the world. First, let's take a closer look at the life of Saint Padre Pio. Many consider him to be the most significant individual of the 20th century. He passed away on September 23, 1968, in a small village in eastern Italy. It was a time when everyone was listening to the Beatles' latest album, just a few weeks before Richard Nixon was elected President of the United States. Interestingly, at the time of his death, Padre Pio had no money in his possession. It was a sad sight for many people, not just in Italy but across the globe. Padre Pio was a man who possessed extraordinary supernatural abilities. He was a priest who bore the stigmata, which means he had wounds resembling those of Jesus Christ. He endured the agony of these wounds for over 50 years. It was believed that he performed numerous miracles throughout his long career. There are stories of him being able to read people's souls and reveal their vices even before they spoke. He had the ability of bilocation, being present in 2 different locations simultaneously. His prayers to God were known to result in miraculous healings. He also built a remarkable hospital with donated money, demonstrating his deep love for God above all else. The month of May marks the centennial of Padre Pio's birth. Pope John Paul II once expressed his gratitude to the Lord for bestowing upon us this cherished figure, highlighting his sense of justice, mercy, and compassion for those who suffered. It was on June 16, 2002, that Pope John Paul II canonized him, bestowing upon him the title of Saint. Padre Pio of Pietrelcina became his official name. Now, let's delve into the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness, which stands out as one of Padre Pio's most significant warnings. This prophecy was accompanied by a sense of urgency, making people wonder if they should prepare themselves for the most challenging period in their lives. Padre Pio emphasized the significance of the teachings bestowed upon him by the Lord. In a private letter to the Committee of Heralds formed by the Vatican, he affirmed the genuineness and accuracy of the revelations he received. These revelations played a crucial role in his spiritual journey, including the stigmata and the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. According to the prophecy, there will be 3 days and nights of intense darkness on earth. The only sources of light during this period will be lamps made of sanctified beeswax. It is also said that all enemies of the church will perish during this time. This prophecy bears similarities to the 10 plagues of Egypt described in the book of Exodus. In the context of the Apocalypse of John, the 6th seal and the 5th vial are also connected to an outbreak of supernatural darkness. It's important to note that the specifics of the 3 days of darkness prophecy have not been publicly disclosed. The information originates from sources that have not been widely shared. The prophecy suggests that during this period, everything will be completely dark, accompanied by a heavy odor of sickness. Padre Pio's letters describing his visions resonate with the scenario depicted at the end of the world, including fire, earthquakes, storms, darkness, and the anger of God falling upon the earth. While some Catholics find value in this prophecy, it's not universally accepted by all. The belief in the end of the world among Catholics forms the foundation for this forecast. However, it's essential to approach this prophecy with an open mind, considering both its potential significance and the varying interpretations within the Catholic community. Padre Pio's life began in the little southern Italian village of Pietrelcina on May 25, 1887. Religion played a central role in the life of both Pietrelcina and the Forcan family, to which Padre Pio belonged. The town celebrated various saints throughout the year, and the bell in the castle church marked not just the hours but also daily Devi apologize, but as an AI language model. I do not have real-time information or knowledge of recent events beyond September 2021. Therefore, I cannot provide specific details about any recent developments regarding the 3 days of darkness prophecy or said Padre Pio. I recommend referring to reliable news sources or conducting further research for the most up-to-date information. Friends have often described the Gian family as a godly example to others. The reason behind such praise is that they were deeply religious and devoted to their faith. They attended daily mass, prayed the rosary every night, and even fasted from meat 3 days a week in honor of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Despite being illiterate, Padre Pio's parents and grandparents made sure to tell the children Bible stories and committed sacred scripture to memory. This created a beautiful home environment where faith was nurtured and flourished. From an early age, it was evident that Padre Pio had a profound religious inclination. At the tender age of 5, he formally dedicated himself to Jesus. He enjoyed playing church music, singing hymns, and spending time alone to read and pray. As he grew older, Padre Pio claimed to have communicated with Jesus, the Virgin Mary, and his guardian angel, and even experienced encounters with the devil. The journey towards priesthood began for Padre Pio in 1897, when his parents learned of his desire to become a priest. During his travels, he encountered a young Capuchin monk who inspired him to pursue a life of monasticism. This dream was shared with his parents, and they traveled to Morcone to explore the possibility of the friars accepting their young son. Despite the additional education required, they were still interested in having Padre Pio join the Capuchin order. To further his education, Padre Pio's father moved to the United States in search of employment. This allowed Padre Pio to have a private instructor to assist him in his studies. During this time, he underwent confirmation, studied with teachers, and fulfilled the necessary requirements to become a member of the Capuchin order. On January 22, 1903, at the age of 15, Padre Pio was initiated into the Order of Friars Minor Capuchin and received the name Pio in honor of Saint Pios I, the patron saint of Pietrelcina. Padre Pio's journey towards priesthood continued as he traveled to the friary of St. Francis of Assisi. There, he began the 6-year process of becoming a priest while also engaging in community work. In 1907, after taking his solemn vows, Padre Pio made his final profession of poverty, chastity, and obedience. His temporary positions came to an end, and on August 10, 1910, at the age of 23, he was ordained as a priest at the Benevento Cathedral. Following his ordination, Padre Pio celebrated his first Mass at Our Lady of the Angels Parish. Within a month, on September 7, 1910, while praying in the Piana Romana, Padre Pio experienced a profound spiritual event. Jesus and Mary appeared to him, granting him the wounds of Christ, known as the stigmata. This caused confusion among his doctors, but Padre Pio asked Jesus to keep the wounds hidden. Despite his desire not to suffer publicly, the supernatural nature of Padre Pio's life began to unfold. Padre Pio's documented ecstasies started on November 28, 1911, when he fell ill. His friend and confidant, Padre Agostino, witnessed what he believed to be a dying man. However, Padre Pio miraculously recovered, and from then on, he experienced numerous ecstasies that were deeply theological, edifying, and filled with love for God. Due to his ongoing health issues, Padre Pio was sent home to recuperate and was temporarily separated from his religious community from 1911 to 1916. Despite this, he maintained his friar life by celebrating Mass and teaching school. In September 1916, he was ordered to return to his community and was assigned to San Giovanni Rotondo, an agricultural community located in the Gargano Mountains. There, he became the spiritual director of the students and dedicated his free time to reading the Bible and handling correspondence. Padre Pio's life took a turn when he was inducted into the Italian Medical Corps during World War I in 1917. However, he was unhappy in the military and eventually ended up in the hospital before being discharged in March 1918. He returned to San Giovanni Rotondo, where he became a spiritual director and had many spiritual children. He established 5 rules for spiritual growth, including weekly confession, daily communion, spiritual reading, meditation, and examination of conscience. Padre Pio's spiritual growth rules were compared to dusting a room, emphasizing the importance of regular cleansing and renewal. His motto, pray, hope, and don't worry, encapsulated his application of theology into daily life, reflecting his unwavering trust in God. Padre Pio's journey from a devout child in a godly family to a revered priest and mystic is a testament to his deep faith and unwavering devotion to God. His religious upbringing, encounters with divine beings, and his own personal experiences shaped him into a spiritual figure who touched the lives of many. Despite facing health challenges and being separated from his religious community, Padre Pio remained steadfast in his commitment to his faith. Through his teachings and example, he encouraged others to embrace prayer, hope, and trust in God, leaving a lasting legacy of faith and devotion. A Christian should have the ability to recognize God in everything and offer everything to Him. It is important to surrender to God's will and say, "Thy will be done," in all circumstances. As believers, we should aspire to reach heaven and place our trust in God, without worrying about His plans as long as they are carried out with the desire to please Him. In July 1918, Pope Benedict XVI urged Christians worldwide to pray for the end of World War I. It was during this time that Padre Pio, a devout and spiritual priest, volunteered himself as a victim on July 27th, hoping to bring the war to a conclusion. A few days later, from August 5th to 7th, Padre Pio experienced a profound vision. He saw Christ piercing his side, and as a result of this encounter, Padre Pio suffered a bodily injury to his side. This experience, known as the heart piercing or transverberation, symbolized the unification of love with God. A few weeks later, on September 20th, 1918, while Padre Pio was praying in the Church of Our Lady of Grace's choir loft, he had another encounter with the same being who had appeared to him earlier. It was Christ wounded, and during this encounter, Padre Pio received the visible stigmata, which were the 5 wounds of Christ. These stigmata remained with Padre Pio for the next 50 years. News about Padre Pio's stigmata began to spread in early 1919, and numerous individuals, including medical professionals, examined his wounds. Despite the attempts of doctors to explain the phenomena of Padre Pio's stigmata, he did not seek to understand it further. Instead, he accepted it as a gift from God. The news of Padre Pio's stigmata brought hope to people who were rebuilding their lives after the war. It served as a sign of God's presence among them and drew many back to their faith. Consequently, Padre Pio's ministry became the center of attention for both the friary and the Church of Our Lady of Grace. Confessions were heard by the remaining friars, and a dedicated room was set aside for managing the influx of letters from pilgrims. People from all over started pouring into San Giovanni Rotondo for spiritual guidance and to seek the intercession of Padre Pio. Despite the heavy workload, a normal day for Padre Pio consisted of 19 hours of activity, including celebrating Mass, hearing confessions, and handling correspondence. He often had less than 2 hours of sleep. As Padre Pio's spiritual impact grew, so did the voices of his detractors and critics. The Holy Office, now known as the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, received numerous accusations against Padre Pio. In June 1922, he was restricted from public contact. His Mass schedule changed daily to avoid drawing large crowds, and he was instructed not to respond to letters seeking spiritual guidance. There were rumors that Padre Pio would be transferred, but authorities decided that San Giovanni Rotondo was the most distant and inaccessible place for such a move. Despite these restrictions and controversies, Padre Pio's ministry continued. From 1924 to 1931, various statements were made by the Holy See that denied the supernatural nature of Padre Pio's phenomena. However, on June 9, 1931, the feast of Corpus Christi, Padre Pio was ordered by the Holy See to cease all activities except the private celebration of Mass. By early 1933, Pope Pios VI ordered the Holy See to reverse its ban on Padre Pio's public celebration of Mass, stating that he had been misinformed about Padre Pio. Padre Pio's faculties were gradually restored, allowing him to hear confessions from both men and women. He was also granted permission to preach. Despite the controversies surrounding him, Pope Pius VI encouraged people to visit Padre Pio, resulting in a significant increase in pilgrimages. In 1940, Padre Pio convinced 3 doctors to move to San Giovanni Rotondo and announced plans to build a home to relieve suffering. The initiative received a grant of $325,000 from the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Administration, UNRA. The home to relieve suffering opened on May 5, 1956. It aimed to provide medical and spiritual care, allowing interns and physicians to advance their training in both medicine and Christian formation. This new venture brought even more attention to Padre Pio, and he became a global celebrity. A spacious church was built to accommodate the increasing number of visitors. Despite his declining health in the 1960s, Padre Pio continued to attend daily Mass and hear confessions. However, by the end of July 1968, he was essentially confined to his bed.